Hey guys, another video. I'll show you my gem links first, and then I'll talk about why I choose certain gears like Crown of Eyes and Skyforth, and then my flash setup. So the concept behind this character is you go crit. So as you can see, my gem links are Earthquake, AoE, less duration, melee full life, melee physical, and crit damage. Now, I was using crit strike for some of the day, but most of the day I was using crit damage. I'll explain in a second on the tree. But first, I'm not LA weakness capped, so I probably shouldn't do that right now. But here. So, when I'm on my tree, I go Assassin, and I get Deadly Infusion for the base crit, because Varunastra has garbage base crit, and you get Ambush for the more critical strike chance on enemies of full life. And that way, when you have like 50 crit, you can still one-shot enemies with a crit multi-gem. So, that's what I use there, crit multi for. And here's my other gears: accuracy, resistances, fizz damage. Flat fizz damage is probably the biggest damage boost on the prefix. Weapon elemental will be garbage since you're scaling all your stuff off physical. Same with here, accuracy, since your accuracy is so low. And fizz damage, flat fizz damage, resist. And here multi, flat fizz damage, and resist, and energy shield. My accuracy is 2700 with all those, and Crown of Eyes adds accuracy too. And on a shield you want high ES and spell damage, hopefully, maybe not. So Skyforth, because they're the how you avoid stun and how you get power charges primarily. Reduce flash charge used on belt, really good, really powerful, resists, and ES. Maybe you could get weapon elemental, not really that big of a deal. Gloves you want high ES, resist, and attack speed, maybe accuracy if you can. And varunastra, the whole build concept. Varunastra lets you use a lot of nodes on the tree. Dagger nodes work, and a lot of the jewels you can search like swords or maces and they completely work. So it's really nice damage. And this thing is like you get all three effects from here. So that's the concept of the character. That's how you gear it. You really need to just like min-max your gear. I need to re-roll a better Vol Regalia right now, or in the future. So that's how you get your gears, how you get this character started. It's a crit based character, so I use Diamond Flask and Vinktar. I'll talk about that later. But first is Crown of Eyes mandatory and Skyforth mandatory. Those things are not absolutely mandatory, but they do add like the most efficient damage on the pieces of gear. For example, Crown of Eyes is about 13% more damage for me. Skyforth, if you don't use Skyforth, you have to solve the stun somehow and use like Eye of Chayula and dropped a lot of damage on the amulet. So you're just going to end up losing damage if you don't use those pieces of gear. I think you can actually have a competitive hubris with your helm instead of the Crown of Eyes. Either way, the most important part of the helm is Earthquake Duration Enchantment. So be sure to get that if you do this build. Crown of Eyes is good for leech accuracy and not really good for your resist and has low ES, but helm can roll resist and accuracy too. Just you don't get the leech at all. And the most important part, like I said, is make sure you get the Earthquake enchant on the helm. That helps like a lot because it pushes your Earthquake duration from nearly half at that point, because you have less duration that reduces by 49 or 50. So you're gonna have like 50% reduction, and then it goes 10% reduced, 50% less. So you're going from like 90% base time to minus 30 to 60. So you're reducing it by 30% of 90, which is actually much better than it looks like. And my timing right now is 0.46. So if I put on Vol Haste and I start whacking, I just have enough attacks to do 2 before the Earthquake clips. But anyways, the point is, Crown of Eyes, you want to get the Earthquake enchant on the helm. That helps your damage like quite a bit. The Skyforth, same thing, and not really absolutely mandatory. Like I said, you just lose an amulet, so you can run without it. But the power charge generation, you're gonna have to figure out yourself as well. You're gonna have to do something like Assassin's Mark, Curse on Hit with some random stuff. So Those two things are not absolutely mandatory, but they do help your damage. Like I said, maybe 30-40% per piece of gear. And that's those pieces of gear. That's how you gear this character. Now for the flash setup, I have roomies and vinktars. I think vinktars is like mandatory for the build. There's no other way to get as much leech as vinktars. It's pretty silly, and you gotta spec into the flash nodes like the ones near ranger, the two near ranger, and then the one in witch is really good. So once you get those flash nodes and reduce flash charge belt, you can hold up your flash for quite a while without worrying too much about it. You just pot and you don't really have to pay attention too much. So that's how you do that. Roomies I think is also really good. This sulfur is garbage. I'm just using it because there's no other damage flask. Same with silver. You probably want to like use more defensive flask, maybe like resistance flask or something like that. The reason roomies is good is because when I pop it, I get 71 block. And that is because the roomies is 30 and the flask effect gives 30%, which makes it 39. So it gives 71 block, and I have some block on the tree here. 3 block and 4 block, 7 block there. That combined with my shield of 25 puts it to 32. 7 plus 25, 32. And then roomies pushes 71. So you get like massive block off roomies. I think is really good. Diamond because on bosses you want to crit if you don't have the crit damage gem. And that's pretty much how you gear this character. Everything else from here is min-maxing your gears. Every single piece of stat is either like a resist or an accuracy or a damage node. For example, if I were to drop a resist on the suffix and maybe not have that, I would have to cap my resist using a jewel, and that's like a damage node. So you gotta play around with your stuff, and one damage node is about 1 point. So you know, a strength node is 1 point. That's like damage. So everything else is min-maxing. I'll show you how the character progresses as time goes on. I'm not really sure what I'm doing, to be honest, but the concept is there. The crit is how you build this, and varunastra is the blade you use. So I'll see you guys in the future videos.